Welcome to the Light Up podcast. I am your host, Amy Wilkinson. I'm an intuitive guide and soul mentor, and through this podcast, you will receive conscious conversations, powerful downloads, and soul-stirring activations that will both support and inspire you to tap into your intuition, follow that higher calling, and live a life aligned with your soul. Because you are here to co-create a life rich in abundance, freedom, and deep joy, and to unleash who you truly came here to be. And we're here to help you discover how to access that. So let's dive on in and light up. Hey everyone, great to have you here back for another episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe or like this episode. It really helps to get this out to as many people as possible. And that's what we're here for, right? That is what my intention is, to spread light and spread love throughout the world. So even if this has an effect, an impact on just a few people, my work here is done. So I really appreciate you sharing this, particularly if you resonate with what's coming through this channel. And speaking of channel, this is something I want to chat a little bit about more in today's episode. The first episode, we spoke about our radiance and increasing our frequency and how we are energy first. And I feel like this, that in itself is something that I could preach again and again. I will probably say this in every episode because it's so vital, and yet we forget, or we don't often utilize this knowledge in the way that we could in order to create. And I think I spoke about this in the previous episode as well, is that we do create from our energy, right? Rather than from matter, creating matter, which is very much in this 3D paradigm where we feel that we need to do a lot, work a lot, strive a lot, hustle a lot if we're to make anything happen, if we're to achieve anything. When we come from more of an energetic standpoint, and we understand that as vibratory beings, so as energy beings, we actually have, through our energy, the capacity to attract in, to draw in whatever is a vibratory match for where we are at. So we can't attract anything into our life that we are not in harmony with. So this comes down to what we believe. Okay, so our belief work is really important when we're looking at manifesting, because it's our beliefs that can really limit our capacity to draw in the things that maybe what our heart really desires. So that's one of the things. It's the beliefs that can keep us stuck and keep us limited and really hold us back. And it's often these beliefs that then are programmed into our subconscious from a very young age. It's usually from when we're born to around 7 years of age, when we are really open, that a lot of these beliefs, so sometimes these beliefs aren't even our own, but we take it as gold, as if it's truth. So when we're looking at manifesting from this place, we manifest from our subconscious, and a lot of the times there are beliefs that are locked in there. So for instance, you might have a belief around money, whether it's something like you've heard or you've been told that having money can make you selfish or evil or greedy, right? So if you are not in harmony with, say, that vibration of money, and you have these beliefs trapped in there, then they are going to limit your capacity to call that in. We also create through our feelings. I've done a lot of work around, I've been manifesting, consciously. I like to call it co-creating as well, because we are co-creating with spirit. And what is spirit? I mean, you might not connect with that word. It's the consciousness. It's a vast consciousness that is within us and around all of us. So we can co-create with that consciousness. So I've been doing these practices for most of my adult life, and I've allowed myself to get clear. And this is a really key practice in manifesting, is getting clear on what it is that you desire. Right? This is going deeper than our wants and our needs, right? When we focus so much on the wants and needs, we're coming from a place of lack rather than a knowing that we are abundant, that essentially we have all that we need and we can be in the energy of that. So when we connect with how it makes us feel, how something makes us feel, and some of those really elevated emotional states like joy and gratitude and love. I mean, you can't get much higher in terms of high frequency emotional states. So when we can connect with those feelings around what it is that we're wanting to call in, we can very quickly shift our vibration, elevate our state to come into alignment with what we're wanting to call in. So for those of you who don't know me personally or haven't been in my world, I mean, I use this practice probably one of the more recent times when I did this and for manifesting was when we sold our house. So a couple of years ago now, this would have been February in 2021. My husband and I made the decision. We made the decision prior to that, but we put our house up for sale in Brisbane because we decided we wanted to do the sea change. And so we sold our house, our beautiful, beloved family home in Brisbane in February of that year of 2021 in order to move up to where we are now, which is on the Sunshine Coast. And one of the things, I mean, we're manifesting all the time, and I talk about this in my teachings, is that we can either do it from a conscious space, from an aware space, where we give ourselves permission to understand and tap into what our desires are, because having intention and being really clear on what our intention is a huge part of this conscious co-creation process. So we sold our house in February, and my husband and I don't do things by halves, and we've become over the years more comfortable. I wouldn't say that we're ever in a full place of comfort around this, because it can be incredibly triggering all at the same time, but we've become more comfortable with, let's say, the leap of faith. We've done it in business. We have done it in buying and selling of houses, in different big life choices that we've made. And so this was one of them, one of those leap of faiths, because we decided that we would sell our house prior to buying our new house up on the Sunshine Coast, or wherever that was going to be. And I had a bit of a sense of where it might be or where I would like it to be. So once we sold our house, it was kind of go time. We knew that we had a period of, I don't know, it might have been 30 or 60 days to not only find our dream home, because I've gotten to that point where I realize that we are co-creative beings and that we can aim high with what we want. We don't need to hold ourselves back. And so much of the time we will hold ourselves back because of logic. Well, I tended to, I don't work like that. I threw logic out of the window a long time ago, and I don't make decisions from that logic place, because I find that logic often keeps us limited and keeps us stuck. And again, we could go into that even further about where that logic comes from. But a lot of the logical decisions are from our mind, and a lot of the programming our mind is fear-based, right? Because the job of our mind is to keep us safe. Our mind wants to know it wants to know what's going on. It wants to be able to control it is wired for our survival. So doing things where we're taking a leap of faith and where we're making choices that are more heart-based from a place of curiosity and trust and faith doesn't go down too well with our mind and ego that just wants to keep us safe by going with what is known and predictable and sensible. So I realized that quite a long time ago, and my husband and I both made this shift out of making a lot of those mind logical decisions. And that, and when we did that, we opened up this whole new place of expansion. So this is what I work with in the work that I do, is supporting people to move and to do the work on some of the thoughts that come up from our logical mind and some of the beliefs, and to really investigate where is that coming from and what space is that coming from. So we didn't make a logical decision with moving out of Brisbane. I mean, on paper, everything was, pretty good. We had a beautiful home. We lived in a really lovely suburb. We had gorgeous friends within very close distance. We had our business, which was our heart business. We loved it. We had that just around the corner. And we were going to, and our kids were really happy. They were happy in school and all of that. But there was a deeper yearning in our soul. And again, I've got to this point in my life and through the various practices that I've been doing that I know that that's something I can't ignore. That's information, that's guidance, and it's really important that we follow that. And we all have access to that. Some of us just choose to not give that a lot of airtime, I suppose. Or we might kind of brush it off as just wishful thinking or dreams that are bigger than what we could really bring into reality. So I don't work like that. There was a yearning, we followed the breadcrumbs, and here we are. So we had to find our dream home within the period of the 30, 60 days or so. Not only that, we had to also have our 3 children accepted into the schools as well, which I was told was going to be a bit of a mean feat, really, the wait lists and so forth. So getting to the house, and for me, home is a haven. It's a sanctuary. It's really important that we feel, really content in our home. It's my sacred haven. I'm a little bit of an introvert and I work from home a lot of the time. So I love to be in a space that energetically feels clear and light and elevated. So I started to write down what I wanted, really what I desired in a house, and I didn't hold back. And I would write down right down to the detail of the color of the floors and what the kitchen would be like and the outlook and the location, right? I really went to town on building this picture in my mind of what my ideal dream home would be. Now I could have had, and no doubt I would have had, my logical mind going, how? How are you going to do that within a period of 30 to 60 days? And also, how are you going to afford that? And all of the different stories. But the feeling in my heart, the knowing and the calling in my heart was stronger. It was louder than those stories. So I chose to focus on that. So getting back to the practice, and this is really what I'm wanting to communicate in this podcast, even though it might be going in a bit of a roundabout way. So thank you for bearing with me. The practice that was key for me was, one, the identifying of the desires and the intention, putting out a bit of that wish list and letting myself have detail around that as well. And then the other important practice, and this is really key in manifesting, was connecting with how would I feel? What would it feel like to be in that home now? So the emphasize here the feelings, what would it feel like, and the now. Because when it's something that we're wishing, wanting, hoping for down the track, and we are affirming that that is coming, it will always be coming. It will always be somewhere out in the future and down the track. When we work in this way and we're creating more from the quantum field, right, we collapse time and space. Time is not a linear concept when we are working in this quantum field. It just is. All there is the present moment. So I knew that if I wanted to manifest this beautiful home, I needed to be doing it in the now space, as if I had it right here and now. And the thing is, our subconscious mind, it doesn't know the difference between future, now, past. It doesn't have that linear programming. And it also doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So this process of tapping into the desires and then tapping into the feeling, what would it feel like? And so I would not only sit and meditate on that or visualize the images that I could see with the house, but I was so tapped in and tuned into what that felt like. And I would let myself quite often, this became a fairly regular practice for me. I would let myself dwell in that space of feeling. And I connected to those elevated emotions, right? Naturally, if I was in this house, I would be feeling joy and appreciation and contentment and be in love with it. So I let myself feel that. I let those feelings get seeped into my body and into my subconscious. And this is where we, as energy beings, this is where we create from. Less emphasis on the thoughts, more emphasis on our beingness and on the feeling and on that vibration. And I brought it to life. So that when we found this home and we walked into the home, I knew it. I knew that it was it. Right? Yeah, there was a process. We had to wait for it to go to auction. And we were getting close to the settlement of when we were selling. So I was getting a little bit scared. Right? This is the thing. Working with these practices doesn't mean that you're in this space of just complete knowing and trust and faith the whole time. No, it doesn't at all. We have the doubts that come in. Absolutely. We have those wobbly days where you're like, what the hell is going on here? Right? But the point is that you keep going and you keep believing and you keep trusting, even with those voices in your head that are saying, what the hell are you doing? Go to safety. Go to safety. Okay. So when we walked into the house and I felt into it and I knew and I could feel it in my body, there was a resonance. It was like, I've seen this. I've pictured this. I've created this. And when I saw it, the logical mind, after seeing it, how are you going to do that? There's going to be lots of people at the auction. How are you even going to afford that? You don't even know what the price is. But I stayed anchored in the faith, because if it's come to us, if we can see it in our vision, if we can conceive it in our mind, then we can bring it into reality. We can hold it in our hands. We can touch it. We can feel it. And I had that belief. And I also believe that whatever's meant for us is meant for us. Okay? Whatever we are a match for will always find us. Okay, so my belief around this was strong. And I guess you can imagine what happened. We got the house. We bought the house. We bought it at auction. It was easeful. It was within what we could afford. It didn't make a lot of logical sense that there wasn't a lot of people at that auction and that we got it in the way that we did. And it felt and it feels amazing. And after this process and after we'd moved in, I went back and I looked at what I'd scripted, what I'd written out in the present moment about this house. And it was all there. All of the things, all of the details were there to a T. Amazing. So, loves, I'm sharing this story with you today. Not to brag, not to show off, right? But to show you what's possible. when you come back to that place of remembering, because you know all this, on a soul level, you know who you are. On a soul level, you even know why you're here. So if this is resonating with you, it's because you already know all of this on some level. So I'm telling you to show you, to inspire you to remember what's possible, and that you have so much capacity in being able to bring into fruition, into physical form, your desires, your hopes, and your dreams. And so much of the time we hold ourselves back because we give way too much power to our fears, to those voices inside our head that says, no, but how, but why, but you can't do that. Well, that's not possible, or you don't have that capacity. And here's the thing, loves, the how is never our business. It's not our business, right? I spoke about co-creating. The co in that, the other part of it, is spirit's job. The how is the work of the consciousness. It's the work of spirit to bring that into form. Our part is giving ourselves room to dream big, bigger than you have before. And I would tell you, if your dreams don't scare you, if they don't ignite that fear response, if your mind, your ego isn't having a tantrum over these dreams because it's so scared, because it hasn't done that before, then it's not big enough. Go bigger. Because you are so powerful, and you have so much capacity to bring your dreams into form this year. Because we don't need to wait. Because when we're working in this quantum field, I'll say it again, time doesn't exist. And this is the age of miracles. This is where we see miracles happen. And miracles only happen when we remember who we are. So each day, make it a point to come back home to you. And when I say come back home, and I will say this a lot, I say this in my yoga classes all the time. Probably people that think I'm crazy, like, what do you mean by that? Remembering that you are energy first. Remembering that you are a soul having a human embodiment for a very limited period of time. You've been here before, you're going to be here again. Maybe that's not your belief, and that's okay. I respect that entirely. It actually doesn't matter. What matters is that you have one life here. And why not let yourself make it magnificent? Because I could have waited. You know, my husband and I had spoken over the years about moving to the beach and doing that at some point in the future when our kids had finished school. And then I think it was after COVID and we went through 2021 and all of that just shook things up, right? That's one of the beautiful things about COVID, is it really did shake things up. It shook up our beliefs. It shook up the paradigm a bit. And we realized, why? Why are we waiting? And the only reason that we were waiting is because we believed on some level that we should wait, or that we needed to wait, because how could we make this happen right now? The how wasn't our business. Okay? When we make the how our business, this is when we try to control it. When we let go, and this is a really big part of the manifesting process, is let go, surrender, loosen the grip, get out of the driver's seat and let this co-creative consciousness, let spirit lead you. Gosh, when we can do that, yeah, it might feel scary, particularly if, you're like me. I do like to be in control to an extent. I've gotten so much better, but I like to be in the driver's seat. You can be in the passenger seat, right? You can drive alongside spirit. This is co-creation after all. But all you need to do is have the dream. All you need to do is dream big. Get really clear on what it is that you desire. And then, beautiful thing happens. You get in attunement with your spiritual self, this divine one consciousness, and you follow the breadcrumbs. You don't need to know what is this path ahead of me. You may want to, but you don't get that. All you're going to be shown is one step at a time. Maybe it's half step. Maybe it's the tiniest little breadcrumb and you pick that up. And then the next step is going to come, or the next breadcrumb is going to come, and it always does. So what would it feel like to then let go and surrender? And this concept of surrender, this practice, it's a real practice of surrender, is I feel like this is a whole nother episode to come on how we embody surrender. It's so important. It's so beautiful when we can do this. And when we think that we've surrendered, we're going to be asked to surrender some more and more and more again. So that's going to come in another episode. But for right now, if you can take away anything from this episode, is to remember to dream. And if the dream is planted in your awareness, if you can dream it up, you can bring it in. I promise you. I have seen this time and time again. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I really appreciate you being here. Please let me know how you find it. Reach out if you've got any questions or comments. You can jump onto my website, which is thelightplace.com.au, or go to my Instagram, Amy at the Light Place. Sending you all lots of love, blessings, and gratitude. Keep shining.